Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my 2023-24 Premier League table predictions. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 60 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We're on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so and it does massively help out. Get a comment as well down in the comment section down below. Which three teams do you think will be relegated? Who do you think will finish in the top 6? Top 4, and also who do you think will win the Premier League title this season? Let's waste no further time and get straight into it. Now I know obviously the season has already started, but August has been such a busy month for me. This has been the earliest opportunity I've been able to get my Premier League table predictions out, so I know we're a couple of games already into the season, but all these predictions were made before a ball had been kicked. Like with all the other predictions that we've already done them from the Championship, League 1 and League 2, and we're here for the final predictions video in terms of the table anyway for the 23-24 campaign. Starting out then in 20th place, I have gone with Sheffield United. I just don't think they've had enough investment in the squad. Don't get me wrong, I really like the signing of Gustavo Hamer. I think he's brilliant for Coventry over the last couple of seasons. They've brought him in, and I think he will score a couple of goals for them this season. He's already scored, I think was it against Nottingham Forest as well a couple of weeks ago, and I do think he's a very, very good player. But on the flip side of things, they've lost Sanderberg, they've also lost Iliman Ndiaye as well. Apologies if I pronounced his name wrong, but he was brilliant for them last season. Replaced him with Cameron Archer, who has done well previously in the Championship. Do I think he'll be able to make that step up into the Premier League? I'm not so sure. I think he's going to end up being a little bit like a Ryan Brewster, where he's very good in the Championship, but can't quite make that step up into the Premier League, in my opinion. I just don't think they've got enough quality in their side. I don't know too much about the other signings. Obviously, they brought in Tom Davies on a free transfer from Everton. I can't say I'm entirely impressed by that, and then a few players from various foreign leagues as well, but obviously losing Ndiaye and Sanderberg are their two big losses, and while I think Hamer is a bit of an upgrade on Berg, I don't think Archer is an upgrade on Ndiaye as of right now, so I'm going with them to finish in 20th place. In at 19th then, I've gone with Wolverhampton Wanderers. It's been a poor window overall for Wolves, and I think this season will finally be the season that they do unfortunately drop. I just don't think they've got anywhere near enough goals in their side. They've obviously lost Raul Jimenez, who hasn't quite been the same since his injury. Connor Cody spent last season out on loan at Everton, but he's a very experienced centre-half. Nathan Collins has moved on to Brentford. The big loss, though, is Ruben Neves moving over to Saudi Arabia with Al Hilal, so that is a significant loss for them. Their signings so far are not exactly impressive. They brought in Boubacar Traore, and they've made Mateus Cunha a permanent deal now as well. Matt Doherty has rejoined the club as well, but I just look at their squad. There's nowhere near enough quality, and especially going forward, not enough goals in that team, in my opinion, so I'm going with them to finish in 19th place. In at 18th position then, and the final team that I think will be relegated, I have gone with Everton. Now I like the signing of Arnaut Danjuma. I really like the signing of Ashley Young as well. I think that's a very smart signing. Jack Harrison's come in on loan from Leeds as well. I think, he'll get around 10 goal contributions for them, which is not too bad. Bito's come in from Udinese for a €25 million fee. I don't know too much about him, but again, I just think the problem with Everton is a massive lack of goals. They've let Moises Keane go, who never really hit the ground running at Everton. Ellis Sims has moved on as well to Coventry. He looked like he was never really going to work out, though, in the Premier League. And while I think they'll do well at home and they'll pick up some good points at home, away from home, I think they'll really struggle this season. And because they just don't have enough goals in them with the likes of Neil Maupay, and like I say, I don't know much about this Beto guy to know if he's going to be any good. And as of right now, I think Everton will be relegated down into the Championship. They've had season after season of just surviving, and I think Sean Dyche will take Everton down this season. In at 17th place then, I have gone with Luton Town. Now it might surprise a few people, but I think Kenilworth Road is a really, really hard place to go, and don't be surprised this season if they pick up a few real shock results. Away from home, I think they could struggle, and I think there will be some absolute batterings at times this season, but I think Luton are going to have just enough about them. I think they're going to find a way. Next season, I think they really could struggle if they don't build on it. Obviously, their recruitment this season hasn't exactly set the world on fire. A lot of their signings are very cheap considering they're in the Premier League, but if they get relegated, they can easily win the league next season with some of these players that they brought in. Ross Barkley, some very good Premier League experience. Nakamba was brilliant for them last season. Mads Anderson was brilliant for Barnsley in League 1. Tafe Chong did well at Birmingham, and Ryan Giles is a very good left wing back in the Championship, so can he now make that step up into the Premier League? Their departures have not really been anything significant either. Sonny Bradley's moved on. and, you know, Carlos Mendes has joined Bolton. So I think, obviously, they still need to get a few more players in, and they could do with a bit more quality. But I think Kenilworth Road, where the fans are right on top of the pitch, I think they could make it a really horrible place to go. They're going to make the pitch dry. They're going to make it bobbly. They're going to make it horrible for any team to want to go there. I think they will pick up a few shock results this season, and I'm going to back Luton to survive this season. In at 16th place, then, I have gone with Burnley. Now, I've seen a lot of people predict them to finish much higher up, and you'd maybe think because of the money that they've spent, they should be finishing higher up than 16th. I think they spent well over £100 million this season. Again, obviously spent a lot of money last year, but I've seen a few people criticise them. If they've got the funds and the finances to do so, then why should a team be criticised for doing so? Vincent Kompany has proven he's a very, very good manager so far. I really like the signing of James Trafford. Again, they've spent a lot of money on him, but he's a very, very good goalkeeper, and he's had a decent start to the season as well. Aaron Ramsey's come in from Aston Villa. Jordan Bayer, I think, has returned to the football club, like we mentioned earlier. Sander Berg's come in from Sheffield United. They've made some very smart signings so far. I just think, with all these players that they've brought in from abroad, and obviously losing Nathan Tella from last season, who was so key for them, I think at times they are going to struggle for goals. As of right now, in my opinion, I don't know too much about this Zeki Amdouni, who's come in from Basel, but he's 22 years of age. A €19 million fee was paid for him, so maybe he can get the goals for them. But obviously, they didn't really have a striker last season who scored a lot of goals. It was mainly their wingers, and obviously Nathan Tella is not with the club this season, so I think from that point of view, they could potentially struggle. In at 15th place, then, I have gone with AFC Bournemouth. I'm very impressed with some of their recruitment so far. Tyler Adams coming in from Leeds, I think he's a pretty decent option in midfield. A big improvement on someone like Ben Pearson, who they've let go to Stoke City. Jefferson Lerma moving on to Crystal Palace is a pretty significant loss, but apart from that, nothing really too significant in the departures. I personally really like Siriki Dembele, but it didn't really work out for him at Bournemouth. I really, really like the signing, though, of Alex Scott coming in from Bristol City, 19 years of age. I think Bournemouth is the perfect move for him. I think if he would have gone somewhere like a Spurs or a Chelsea, I think that could have really ruined his career, but I think somewhere like Bournemouth, he's going to get the game time that he needs, and I think Bournemouth could have a really good season, so I'm going to go with 15th place for them. In at 14th place, then, I have gone with Fulham. I think it'll be a little bit of a drop-off from last season. Obviously, losing Mitrovic is a very significant loss, but they got well over €50 million for him, so they've done a nice piece of business from that point of view. They've lost a couple of their older players as well. They've tried to reduce the average age of the squad, and they've brought in Adama Traore on a free transfer from Wolves. Raul Jimenez has also joined the club as well. Timothy Castagne has had his moments at Leicester, but he's fairly not the greatest in the Premier League. I like the signing, though, of Calvin Bassett. I think it will be a little bit of a drop-off for Fulham this season with obviously the loss of Mitrovic. I think Jimenez won't quite be able to replicate the output of Mitrovic, but I think they'll be more than comfortable this season, so I'm going with Fulham to finish in 14th. In at 13th place, then, I have gone with Crystal Palace. I think Roy Hodgson's going to have a good season again with Crystal Palace. Their younger players are a year older as well, and, you know, my team, Bradford City, have got a pretty decent link with Crystal Palace. It's great to see Scott Banks, you know, smashing it out in Germany already, and I think potentially one day he could actually make it in the Premier League. We were linked with John Kaimani Gordon, but it looks heavily likely he's now going to join Cambridge. Obviously, in terms of their first team, they have lost Wilfred Zaha, and he was so key for their success over the last couple of seasons. But I think this year, with Elise signing a new contract, Eze, if he can keep fit, Mateta scored a goal so fun last night in the Carabao Cup against Plymouth. I think they're in for a pretty good season this year, and now that not relying on Zaha as much, I think they'll share the goals around a lot more. I think, again, they'll be pretty comfortable in mid-table, as Crystal Palace always are, so I'm going with them to finish in 13th. In 12th position, then, I have gone with Nottingham Forest. I think Steve Cooper's side are going to have another good season this year. Their recruitment so far has been pretty decent. I like the sign of Matt Turner coming in from Arsenal, nice experienced goalkeeper in there. Anthony Elanga coming in from Manchester United for an €18 million fee. I don't think that's a bad signing. Obviously, he's only 21, so still plenty of time for him to develop. There's rumours that Brennan Johnson could be going to either Spurs or Brentford at the moment. I think as long as they keep hold of Gibbs White, Nottingham Forest will have a very, very comfortable season this year, in my opinion. Much more comfortable than last year. And as of right now, I'm going with Nottingham Forest to finish in 12th place. In at 11th, then, I have gone with Brentford. Again, I think they will have a little bit of a decline from last season. Obviously, Ivan Toney going to be banned until January, but I think he'll be keeping himself fit. I don't think he's actually allowed to train with Brentford as well, which I think is a little bit harsh in my opinion, but that is a significant loss. Whatever way you do look at it, obviously David Raya has left the club as well. He's gone to Arsenal with a loan with an option to buy, but I think more than likely they will make that one a permanent. Can Kevin Schade be the man to replace Tony for the first half of the season? I'm not sure. Brian Mbeumo's done a pretty decent job so far, but I think when Tony gets back fit, Brentford might start out slow, but I think the second half of the season they'll do really well. I'm going to go with them to finish in 11th place. In at 10th place then, I have gone with Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, while I think De Zerbi is a very, very good manager in my opinion, they've lost Caicedo, they've lost McAllister, and I think them two are two pretty significant losses in my opinion. To get over 20 million euros though for a backup goalkeeper in Robert Sanchez, I think is a great piece of business, and obviously to get 116 million euros for Moises Caicedo, as good as he was, he's certainly not worth that much in my opinion. I'd really like the signing though of João Pedro coming in from Watford, and I don't know too much about their other signings, as you never really do. I like the signing of Igor coming in though from Fiorentina, but you never really know too much about Brighton. They always seem to get their recruitment absolutely spot on, and I think they'll have no real problems with replacing the players that they have lost this season, but I'm going to go with a slight decline, still going to go with them to finish in 10th place. In at 9th then, I have gone with West Ham United. Obviously they've lost Declan Rice, but they got a significant amount of money coming in for him, nearly 115 million euros I think it was in the end. Yes, he was a good player, but again, I think Arsenal have massively overpaid for him, and that's just the value of the transfer market. They've replaced very well though. They've got rid of one midfielder, and they've brought in three very, very solid replacements. They've done like what Tottenham did with the Gareth Bale money, and they've not gone for a like-for-like replacement. They've spread it out, and I think these three signings could work out very well. James Ward-Prowse is a very well-proven Premier League central midfielder. I think you're very naive to just say he's a bit of a free kick merchant, because I do think overall he's actually a very good player. Edson Alvarez, I don't know too much about. I've not watched much of Ajax, but he sounds like a good signing. Mohamed Kudus as well, done very well in the World Cup with Ghana, I do believe, and he's obviously done pretty well at Ajax. I think that one is certainly a signing that could work out. We've seen recently though signings that have come in from abroad at West Ham haven't really worked out too well, with the likes of Scamacca and Vlasic, I'm not really too sure. Moving on, both going to Italy, but again, they've got nearly 40 million euros for the pair of them. Flynn Downs has gone out on loan to Southampton as well. I think overall it's going to be a pretty successful season for West Ham. They struggled in the league last season under David Moyes. They won at the Conference League, and obviously they're in the Europa League this season. I think it will be a pretty solid season for West Ham, and I'm going with them to finish in 9th place. In at 8th position then, I have gone with Chelsea. They've spent again a hell of a lot of money. 116 million on Caicedo, 62 million on Lavia, 60 million on Nkunku, 45 million on Disasi, 37 million on Jackson. They've spent 23 million on Robert Sanchez, 16 million on Petrovic, and then spent 16 million on Washington and 15 million on Angelo, who I don't really know too much about. I think, well, Mauricio Pochettino is obviously a very, very good manager, and don't get me wrong, they've obviously got in a decent amount of money coming in, with 75 million for Havertz, 65 million for Mount, 30 million for Kovacic, 25 million for Koulibaly, 20 million for Pulisic, 18 million for Mendy, and 16 million for Loftus-Cheek, as well as 8 million for Ampadu. And I just don't think this season will be the one where it really clicks for Chelsea. I think maybe in a year or two's time, when all the younger players have developed a little bit more, I think they could potentially be challenging a lot higher, but as of right now, I can't put them above any of the other sides at the moment, so I'm going with Chelsea to finish in 8th. In at 7th place then, I have gone with Aston Villa. Now, don't get me wrong, they could really have a chance of getting in that top 6, if not the top 4 this season. I really do rate Unai Emery as a manager. I think he's one of the best in the league, in my opinion. Again, I think they've recruited very smartly. Tielemans coming in on a free transfer, Pau Torres coming in at centre-half. Obviously, Tyrone Mings is going to miss pretty much the whole season with the ACL injury, which is a massive loss for Villa, but I don't think Pau Torres is too bad of a replacement. Moussa Diaby coming in as well from Bayer Leverkusen, absolutely brilliant player, and he's started out like a house on fire at Villa so far, and their departures, you know, to get over 20 million for Cameron Archer, who's not Premier League proven, I think is a very smart piece of business from them as well. Overall, with Unai Emery as the manager, I think Villa in for another successful season. I think they'll do well in the Conference League, and I'm going with them to finish in 7th. In at 6th position then, I have gone with Manchester United. I think it will be a little bit of a decline for Ten Hag's team this season. I look at their recruitment, and I don't know too much about Højlund, so I can't really comment on him, but 75 million euros for a 20-year-old is a lot of money. Mason Mount, I've never really been a fan of. I think that's 65 million euros wasted, in my opinion. I don't think he really fixes their problems. Casemiro, another year older as well, for the money they spent and the long-term contract they gave him. I think he's declining. Obviously, they've got a couple injuries in their defence at the moment. They're looking at trying to get Cucurella in potentially, which is crazy, in my opinion. Onana's coming to replace De Gea. Well, I wasn't a fan of De Gea. I don't know if Onana is much of an upgrade, to be honest with you. He's already made a number of mistakes so far, but as of right now, I think Erik ten Hag's side will have a slight decline. I'm going with them to finish in 6th position. In at 5th then, I have gone with Tottenham Hotspur. I think Ange Postecoglou is a very good manager in my opinion. Yes, they've lost Harry Kane, but they managed to get 100 million euros in for him, so I think that's a very, very good piece of business in my opinion. I'm liking some of their signings so far as well. James Maddison, most notably coming in from Leicester for not even 50 million euros. I think that's an absolutely brilliant piece of business. Kulusevski's joined the club permanently for 30 million euros. Pedro Porro's joined the club permanently as well for 40 million euros. And Mickey van der Ven is coming as well for 40 million euros from Wolfsburg. Again, their starting 11 is very strong. I still think they need a striker though, in my opinion. I don't think Richarlison's the man to get them into the top 4. He's already proven that so far this season with the number of chances that he has missed. So I think if they get in another striker, it doesn't necessarily need to be someone outstanding, but just another striking option, in my opinion, I think they really could challenge for the top 4. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far from Destiny, Udogie as well. Bissouma looks like he's back to his best as well from his Brighton days, and I think Postecoglou's side are going to finish in 5th, in my opinion. In at 4th position then, I have gone with Newcastle United. Now, Sandro Tonali's come in, Harvey Barnes has come in, Livramento's come in, and they're 3 very, very good signings in my opinion, especially, obviously, Sandro Tonali. Now, Bruno Guimaraes, however you pronounce his second name, I do apologise, hasn't had a great start to the season, and Almiron shouldn't really be in that starting 11 for me. Anthony Gordon, I've massively doubted him, but he's been brilliant so far this season as well. Eddie Howe has done a brilliant job so far at Newcastle, and I think they could do with a couple more options, a couple more additions in my opinion, but overall I think it's going to be another successful season. Yes, they're in the Champions League. I think they'll be able to do it again though, and I'm going with them to finish in 4th place. In at 3rd position then, I have gone with Arsenal. Now, I like the signing of Declan Rice, and obviously Timber's going to be out for a long time with that knee injury, but Kai Havertz, he's just not very good. I could not tell you what Kai Havertz is good at, and Chelsea have done brilliantly to get 75 million euros in for him. I don't know what is his best position, I don't know what his best attributes are, and I think that's a really, really poor signing, in my opinion. They've lost Granit Xhaka as well, and while at some points he could lose his head a little bit, he's very experienced. I think he was very good for them last season. I think it will be a slight regression for Arsenal this season, but I think next year they'll look to go again. They'll get some more money to spend as well. You know, they've spent nearly 250 million euros so far this window, and there's still a day or two left in there as well. But as of right now, I'm going with Arsenal to finish in 3rd. In at 2nd place then, I have gone with Liverpool. I think they're a holding midfielder away from really competing with the title. Darwin Núñez had a great start to the season, scored 2 brilliant goals against Newcastle the other day. They've done very well to get 60 million euros in for Fabinho and Jordan Henderson. Firmino's also moved on, as well as Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Milner. They've had a lot of departures this summer. They brought in a nice amount of midfielders. Shozablai, apologies if I pronounce his name wrong. McAllister's come in, Endo's come in. I don't think he's the answer to their problems. I don't think he's a bad backup, but as a holding midfielder, a 30-year-old coming in from the Bundesliga, you know, when you spend cheap, you get cheap at the end of the day, and I think they need to get someone really world-class in as that 6th holding midfielder. I think they could really challenge for the title this season, in my opinion. Jurgen Klopp is, I would say, pound for pound, the best manager in the league for the money he spends compared to Pep. I think that Klopp is absolutely brilliant, in my opinion, but as of right now, I am going with Liverpool to finish in 2nd, which means winning the league is obviously Manchester City. Now, I don't think it'll be as comfortable as what it has been potentially over the last couple of seasons, and I know Arsenal were going toe-to-toe with them for the majority of last season, but Arsenal fell off, and it was very comfortable for Man City in the end. I like the signing of Gvardiol. Doku's come in as well, very, very good young upcoming player, and I think he's a brilliant replacement for Riyad Mahrez, in my opinion. They've moved on. Aymeric Laporte in there as well. Gundogan moving on to Barcelona is a pretty significant loss, but overall, I think they've recruited smartly. I still think they'll get one more in before the window does end, and obviously they've got Haaland, Pep Guardiola, the list goes on. They've got a brilliant squad, brilliant team, and I think Man City will win the league once more, in my opinion. I'm going to leave it there though for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could channel it 60 likes, as I said at the start of today's video, that would be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We are on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already, with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Get a comment as well down in the comment section down below. Which 3 teams do you think will be relegated? Who do you think will get into the Champions League? And who do you think will win the league this season? Thank you all very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Peace.